your first guest is an actor, is a writer, is a performer, is a stand-up. She's many things, and she's brilliant. And she's over there. She's going to be over here. Give her a nice warm welcome. Get the clapping going. Get the cheering going for Jenny Collier. We'll shake hands.
That intro was so long, I thought you'd forgotten my name.
I'm so sorry. You thought I forgot your name? We've just performed together.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have you got a drink?
Yes, I've got water. Thank you.
Okay,
I'm driving.
thank you. Oh, I'm so unfit. I'm so out of breath. We just did a cruise together.
We did. I'm still full from the food from the cruise because it's all you can eat.
Yes.
No, it's all inclusive. But I took it as a challenge. I got the nickname Jenny Six Breakfasts when I was there because it's a lot of food. All my clothes start to cut into me after a few days. My bra is now like how a tree grows around a fence. That's the situation I'm in now after all the food. So I only do gigs when I get a free meal. Hence, here I am.
Lovely meal. Lovely food here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good.
It's very nice.
I'm sorry, I'm a bit gurgly after it, so excuse me if that happens.
You can't burp though.
I can't burp, so this might happen.
No, don't do it. Genuinely, she can't burp.
I can't burp and then the weird thing happens inside, but that's not the showbiz talk that you want. That's not what you signed up for. Sorry, I'll try and rein that in. Sorry.
That's all right. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
That's all right. So you've done Britain's Got Talent as well, haven't you?
I've done Britain's Got Talent. Yeah.
Tell me your story, showbiz story.
Well, my one isn't as harrowing as yours.
Okay.
But so what happened was I got invited to do it, so I thought that meant that I was definitely going to get to the final. I was like, oh, this must mean that I'm like in for it with a chance. But it just turned out they invite everybody, and so I wasn't special at all. And then I went and did the audition. But what they do is the whole day they make you sit for 10 hours in the kind of holding pen in the hotel, and then they interview you so much throughout the day that you just forget who you are, and you think to yourself, well, they've interviewed me so much, they can't use all of this, so you start losing self-consciousness. So you just like chat away, and they're like, describe yourself in 3 hashtags, blah blah blah, what's what like, they ask you loads of nonsensical things, and then at the end of all this interviewing, while they're filming you, they go, right, now say yes, and so you go yes, and they say no, you go no, and they say, and now say that's fantastic, and they can just cut that into whatever they want. So they can edit it however, so they can say like, do you think you're gonna win? Yes. do you think it's right that we leave the EU? No. David Attenborough's a paedophile. That's fantastic. So it's really like gnarly editing that they can do, because they can edit it. And so what I ended up happening was I got 3 yeses. Yeah. And you don't have to clap. No, it's fine. Thanks. But then it didn't get shown because so I didn't get through to the next whittling down stage because Simon Cowell said that I was too low energy. But what had happened was, Anne Tordek said to me at the beginning, they said, go out there and stand on the star. So I just stood on the star to do my set, and then I looked low energy. So that was that. And then also one of my jokes was about anal. So I think that was also a reason that I didn't put it on the TV. But Alicia Dixon said, oh my God, you're so awkward and I love it. And that's my brand now.
Yeah, how did you respond to that? You're so awkward. Did you give a response? Did you have to give a response?
I just was, because that was after I'd done my set, so I was just like rictus grinning and just being, like she said, awkward. So I think I probably just said thanks, because she was saying it as if it was a compliment, but yeah.
It is awkward.
It is awkward, and as well, the thing as well, when you first step out there, they they try and engage you in a little bit of banter, and so Amanda Holden's like, do you have any pets? I was like, no. And she goes, and who are you here with? And I was like, nobody, because it had been really last minute that I got brought in. And then she goes, so you haven't got any pets and no friends? And I was like, oh. And then she goes, are you a student? And I said, oh, no, thanks. It's just because I don't iron my clothes since I turned 30, and it makes my skin look smoother in comparison. And then she goes, well, do you want to start then? Because it seems like you already have. And so I was like, oh, okay. And then just started. So it was super awkward. Like,
so it's not made for comics. We don't normally have to do an interview before starting a gig.
No.
Do we? Yeah, that's so weird. The pre-gig chat, I didn't include it in talking about it, but they asked me, they said, who are you here with? And I was in the character as my posh idiot. So I was just like, I'm here at the dog's body, continue. And that didn't go well. That's probably one of the reasons why I got booed. So yeah, you're a stand-up. You've been doing it a while. Have you experienced any bad gigs, any bad feedback, you're a female stand-up. You must have you ever experienced?
Thanks for noticing.
Have you experienced sexism? There is
some sexism has happened to me.
Oh really? Okay.
I had some sexism. I got a bit of sexism. It was about 10 years ago when I had my biggest sexism. And what happened was, so I was booked to do a gig, and then I got an email a couple of weeks before the gig saying, "Oh hi, we've had to cancel you from this date because the venue said they don't want too many women on the bill. So we've cancelled you. Hope this doesn't cause you any inconvenience." And so I screenshot it, and then I posted it on Twitter, and it got retweeted by like thousands of people, and it got retweeted by Sarah Silverman, Sarah Millican, Jack D, Frankie Boyle, so like all my influai. And then I was like, oh my god, if it's been retweeted by that, oh my god, maybe Harry Styles has seen it. Like maybe he knows about me. This was like 10 years ago. I was like, oh my god, maybe I'm now like famo. And then I was like, oh my god, maybe Prince Harry has seen it. So I went from, in about 3 steps, from indignant feminist to, I'm going to be a princess. But yeah, it went wild. Like I expected a couple of my friends to be like, oh, that's really bad that you got cancelled. But it was also on International Women's Day as well. So it was like the perfect storm. So it just went bananas. And I kept getting notifications saying like, you're trending in America, you're trending in Australia, all just for being a woman comedian.
You trended?
I trended. And then that Edinburgh, I was like, oh my god, I'm properly famous now as a female comedian. And then on my first day of flyering for my show, somebody comes up to me and they're like, excuse me, are you Jenny Collier? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, oh my god, thank you so much for what you did. And they got me to sign the flyer. And I was like, great, you're welcome. Oh my god, I'm such a activist.
Okay.
And then a few minutes later, somebody else comes up to me and they're like, excuse me, can I talk to you for a second? And I was like, yeah, like getting ready to get my pen out, and he's like, it's just I'm flying for Frankie and Benny's, and you're on my patch. So suddenly from like thinking I was going to be all like famous feminist, I was just like, get out of my way. So.
Have you always wanted to be a comedian? Has that always been the dream?
When I was really little, my parents said to me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, a pig in a circus. And which I think I've actually nailed, because the all-you-can-eat part of it, I am being a bit of a pig.
Yeah.
And I do like perform in sort of circusy environments.
Yeah.
Like I oh hi guys, pull up a pube.
From Devon?
No, from Bristol.
Bristol.
Wow.
That's bloody closer.
I know.
Unbelievable. Nice jacket. I very well dressed there.
Yeah, we're all beige.
I know. I feel like it's awkward when the audience are better dressed than us.
That's every gig.
I know. Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, sorry. What you started off? When you were younger, you wanted to.
So I wanted to be something. I said to my school, one of my school teachers said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said I wanted to be. This was when I was about 8 years old. I said I want to be a model. No, because it looked like an amazing job, because you get to go to really beautiful places and all of that. And then he said, you have to be pretty to be a model, Jenny. And so that dream died when I was 8. But then I was like, maybe be an actor. And then I initially wanted to be an actor, and then I moved to London, and then life got in the way, and then I just became a comedian. But I think a pig in a circus is a good description of what we do.
It's a good Edinburgh show title.
Do you know what? I pitched and I applied to do Edinburgh, and the show was going to be called A Pig in a Circus, but that was in the year 2020.
Oh wow!
And then it didn't happen.
Oh wow!
So maybe next year.
Yeah. You're Are you Welsh? You've gigged in Welsh.
Yeah. Well, I am Welsh. We've got any Welsh in?
Fairly new.
Standard response, just perfect silence and then laughter at the existence of Welsh people. I am from Wales, but and I started doing comedy in London, but I've gigged in Wales, and then a few years ago I got asked to do Welsh language comedy, and I do really bad. I've got quite bad Welsh. Like I have to explain around words in Welsh. Like I've got like pidgin Welsh that I learnt at school. Like if I want to call somebody a bellend, called a maclychau diwedd, which probably translates as like apex of a ringer. It's like not, it's like literal. So it's really like crap Welsh. But then I got invited to do live at the Apollo in Welsh.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And again, it's in a theatre approximately the size of this cinema room, so it's not like at the Apollo, but it's on the Welsh Channel 4. And so
it's called Live at the Apollo?
No, it's called Gwerthu Allan. How dare you? But, in that, they made us do like a couple of warm-up gigs to show, to like check that we could speak Welsh well enough and that the jokes were funny enough and all this. And so we did a warm-up gig in Cardiff to like 12 people, and as discussed, my Welsh is pretty bad, and I did this run through, and there was a row of boys in the front row just crying, like sobbing, laughing, and they came up to me afterwards and they were like, it's so funny because you're so shit at Welsh, but we know what you're saying and you don't apologise for it, and so it's like, we get it. And so then the producers were like, whatever you do, don't get any better at Welsh, because this is like clearly part of how funny it is. So they're like, just keep that level of like pidgin Welsh, and like everyone understands what you're saying, so it's great. And that was in Cardiff, where it's all quite like relaxed and stuff. But then they did the next warm-up gig was in like West Wales, like deep Wales, and we did this. I did exactly the same set, but again it was to about 8 people in a little shack on a cliff, and they weren't happy about my shit Welsh, and so the vibes were bad, and then the producer was like, you're not in the show anymore, and I was like, oh no, like that was going to be like a nice chunk of money and my exposure, and I was going to get famous, and then I went after them and I was like, you can't drop me, I was told to not get any better at Welsh, and so come on. And so they let me back on it, but I had to like really learn it like word for word and learn it like perfect Welsh, no messing about, no jokingly bad Welsh. So it sucked all the fun out of it, and then I did it, and then I think it had like 200 viewers or something. So I didn't get famous. But the producer who tried to sack me from it is dead now, because the Welsh TV scene is really quite sketchy, and they do deals where there's like a carrier bag full of cash and a shotgun in a field, and they decide, like they make that.
You can't make up stories on stories of staged scream.
I know I made it up, but that's what I've heard.
No way.
Yeah. Ffermwrs, that's farmers, because it's Welsh farmers doing the deals.
Wow, it sounds like you've just done an accent there.
Ffermwr, no, that's Welsh for farmer.
Okay.
Do you know what I had for tea just now?
What?
A burger. Do you know what that is in Welsh?
Burger.
Burger.
Yes, yeah, I could do it. Do you get you are filthy? Your material is filthy. I probably should have clarified that.
Did somebody just go, what?
No, not you know.
I have got a
hygiene-wise.
rude story that I was going to tell tonight, but I don't know if it's a bit rude.
I think it's too posh. I think. Do you want filth?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you a really quick rude bit about the circus.
God.
So I do. Are you okay with that? Are you guys at the front?
One
looking
guy.
at each other?
Yeah.
Okay. So when Joe asked me about, right, because it is quite a circusy job that we do, and I did a gig in the Adelaide Comedy Festival, which is really super circusy, and everybody's like sideshow, strongman kind of things. And so I was hanging out with a lot of the circus contingent of the festival, and I had a short relationship with a man who had the Guinness World Record for the world's strongest tongue. Thank you, exactly. Yes, Clapton. Yeah. And when I told my friends about it, they were like, what was that like? And I was like, it was brilliant. Right, because so what he was like a strongman, and he did like sword swallowing and fire breathing and dangling like a bowling ball from his tongue and stuff, and pulling a car along with his tongue. But the best part was...
That's the bit you found disgusting.
But the best part was, years ago, he had a terrible accident when he was fire breathing, and he inhaled a bit of lighter fluid and burnt his mouth and inside of his nose and throat and lungs and stuff. It's awful. But it meant that he's okay now, but it means he's got no sense of smell or taste. So that's like jackpot! Right? But so that's why he said I'm filthy, because I say things like that. I think when people are like, what? Because I haven't said anything rude up until that point.
No, but you do. Your material is quite rude.
Sometimes a
Do
little
people
bit rude.
complain?
Do people complain? So no, they don't usually.
No.
But so a thing happened to me. So I used to swear a lot in my set. There was one time where I had a bit in my set where I would say the worst word 12 times. But in Wales, it's just like a greeting. So it's not that rude. And it's never done in anger. It's always in like a friendly way, or it's just about the language. But I did a gig just after lockdown in like a marquee, and it was when we'd only just been let out. And so there weren't that many of us there. And the gig was nice, but the audience were sparse. They were qual, not quant.
Yeah.
So there weren't very many of them, but they were really up for it and really nice. And then some time goes by and after the gig, and I hadn't been paid. So I asked my agent, I was like, where's the money for that gig? And it was quite a good payer. And they said, oh, they're just dragging their heels. We'll get you the money soon though. And then I was like, a few months later, I left that agent for a different reason. The greatest trick my agent ever pulled is convincing the world I don't exist. And then, so I left the agent for a different reason. And then they said, oh, you can contact that promoter to get the money. So I did. I was like, hi, here's my invoice. Please can you pay me? Thanks, it's been quite a few months now. And then they replied going, as we told your agent, we won't be paying you because you were utterly unacceptable. You swore constantly throughout your set. I didn't. I actually did a little tally, and I said dick 3 times, shit twice, the C word twice, and I didn't even say the F word. I said fuck, which is a friendlier Welsh way of saying it. Anyway, I didn't swear that much. That's like homeopathic levels of swearing.
Yeah.
And so this guy is like, you were defamatory. And they didn't say who I was defaming because it was no one. And then so I replied to him and I was like, you can't just pay me because you didn't like it. And he was like, I had multiple complaints and walkouts. And I was there and nobody walked out. And they were all laughing. And this is just to give you an example of how rude as well the audience works. It was like we were all having a nice rude time. Because I was talking about Zoom gigs to them. And how in some of the early Zoom gigs we did over lockdown, some of them, you got inundated, before they knew to put passwords on the Zooms, you'd sometimes get inundated by loads of people on the Zoom, yeah, right? And so I said to the audience in the marquee, I said, this is enchanting because no one's got their dick out. And then someone in the audience goes, yet! So they were rude as well. So they were totally on board for it, fine. But then the guy was like, no, you're really rude and we won't be paying you. And I've got multiple witnesses that will attest to the fact that you were shocking. And then I was like, well, I've got Whitney as well. Because Glenn Wall and Ed Byrne were on the bill as well. And so they wrote me witness statements. And so Ed Byrne wrote a witness statement saying, I fucked a chair in my set and I still got paid. And so then I took him to court.
Wow.
Yeah, and the judge was really fit. And it was on Zoom, and I couldn't see if he had his dick out or not.
Oh, no.
But the guy that owed me the money didn't show up, and then I won the court case. Yeah. Thank you. But then he made himself go bankrupt the following day, so he never had to pay me.
Oh.
So I'm so rude that I make people go bankrupt.
We did a Zoom gig together.
Did we?
Yes. And
Uh-oh.
yes. I don't know if I should tell this story.
Oh, I think I know this one.
Yeah, you
Can I-
sometimes tell the story, but it's your story to tell.
Yeah, thanks so much for bringing it up. Yeah, I'll tell you it. Because with Zoom gigs, you've got your little headphones in, and because it was Zoom and we were all having like a dreadful, lonely time.
Yes.
We would quite often at the end of the gig hang out at the comics would and have a few beers and just a nice little like a
It was
hangout.
nice.
It was really nice.
But I'll let you tell it. Sorry, you tell it.
So we decided that we were all going to stick around for beers at the end. So it was you, me, Matt Green, Nathan Caton, I think. And the gig was really nice as far as I was concerned. It was great. And then I turn off my camera and my microphone so that I can sit and enjoy the rest of the gig and then stick around to the end.
Yeah.
And so I enjoy the rest of the gig and I'm just quite merry and buoyant because as far as I'm concerned, it's been nice. But then at the very end, when they've all done their sets and all the audience are like logging out and stuff, I heard directly into my head somebody go, I didn't like the girl.
do you know what was bad? Is we could still, they were just having a meal. So we could just see them at their dinner table having a family meal. So we're just watching them having a meal discuss us.
Yeah. And they were, I didn't like the girl. And it's just, to have a heckle received so clearly in like HD sound, surround sound.
But they were talking about all of us. They were like, this is what I didn't like about this girl. Yeah.
Sorry for swearing.
No, thank you. Are you gig in Australia?
Mm-hmm.
What's that like? Is that, I've never done gigs in Australia. Is that fun?
It's great.
Yeah.
I do love it. It's really nice and warm, but then you've got like sweat running down your leg, and the audience are like, "Is this cabaret or what? What's actually happening?" But you do like these in the circus bit. There were places where you do 12 gigs in one day. You didn't have to, but I was doing it because you're like, you do 10-minute show, and then they throw the audience out, get a new audience in, you do another 10-minute show. So I did 12 of these back to back, but then you'd get drinking as well. And by the last gig of the day, I repeated the same joke twice in a 12-minute set because I was so hammered. And then as well, you forget what you've said, so you have to just try and make it unique. And then at one point, a guy heckled out, he just goes, "I'll give you $5 if you mime rimming." I was like, do you know what? I do want an extra $5. So I did it, and then and I was like, I don't know if I'm a comedian anymore. I don't know what this is actually. What is this?
You won't get that here. You won't get that here. We'll do a bit of a Q&A. Has anyone got any questions for Jenny?
Jenny Collier.
For Jenny Collier over there, yes. Has anyone got any questions? Yes. We've got one in the back. Yeah.
Acting. Do you do any scripted stuff as well?
Oh, I did a little film with Joe Bor. I would love to do more acting. But because my plan was to move to London, go to drama school, immediately become a film star, but then because it's really hard to get into drama school, that you have to because I was really poor and young at the time, you have to pay each time to apply for it. And then there's a million people who look exactly like me going, "Hello, I'd love to act." And so in the end, a few people were like, "Oh, you should do stand-up because you don't know, no one can tell you can't get on stage at an open mic gig." So I got into that, but I would love to do more acting. I've written my own script, so I'm trying to maybe try and get that out somewhere. But yeah, we did a little short film with you. I do, love all that sort. Do a few like sketchy things, but yeah, not loads.
If there's any directors, Jenny is a brilliant actor. Are you an actor as well?
Director.
Oh, you're a director. There you go.
Hi. Are you?
Genuinely
Oh my
amazing.
God. Let's, yeah.
I'll send you our film, in which she is brilliant. Yes.
Ask a question. Do you have, obviously you're fantastic at comedy, but is there any other kind of genre that you're not more interested in, but that you're also interested in pursuing?
Thanks, first of all, for your kind words. I think comedy is my main, because Joe asked me the other day, will I always do comedy? And I think I will. And then he said, oh, you'll be like Joan Rivers. As if just because I've turned 40, you then immediately picture me as 81. But I will do comedy. That's like my passion at the moment. But I would love to do acting. I've gone to like some improv courses and stuff like that, which I love. And I do like writing. Once I get into the writing, I love it. But it's just starting a project is always a little bit daunting, and but yeah.
I think being a comedian, you have to be. You're kind of doing everything. You are writing, acting, directing. You're kind of doing it all. So I think, comedians tend to be good actors generally.
Good at logistics, lots of
admin.
Admin, yeah.
Was there someone had another question? Was it you?
Yeah, I was just going to ask. So you say you don't mind doing a filthy set. What was it like the first time your parents, perhaps, or your family saw you?
That's a really good question, because so my mum kind of is. Both my parents are kind of cool with it, and they're very supportive and lovely. But it's so funny when my dad comes, because my dad has only ever seen me do comedy like thrice in real life, and he always he'll bring up the rudest joke that I said. So for example, if there's been one about like wanking or something, and if I'm talking about myself, he'll be like, oh, they like that one about the sitting on the washing machine, and I'm like, shut up. It's like he doesn't get embarrassed. He's like he just likes embarrassing me, so it's kind of, he just turns it on his head and makes it or the other way. But they're really supportive and lovely about it. Although my mum said to me, because I'm doing a show tomorrow in London that I'm trying to market and trying to get people to come to, and my mum says, well, I'll share the post as long as you haven't said any expletives in the writing. It's like, no, I haven't. So she's like, I'll share it then. Yeah, I don't know where I get it from.
Any other questions? Okay, yeah, oh yeah.
Just a quick one, following from what I said recently. Like with the stand-up, how did that come about? You said you're applying for drama school and stuff. Were you always into comedy, I presume? So I find it really daunting to come and do like stand-up, and you quickly get over that, like.
Yeah, so it was really daunting, but I always loved watching comedy, and then a few people said to me like, oh, you should try and do stand-up because when I first moved to London, I'd get very drunk and leery, and I would be funny. I was much funnier when I started doing comedy. Now in real life, I'm boring, but back then I would be like leery and like mouthy and like I'm funny. And so a few people suggested that I tried it out. And the first open mic that I headed to with a plan to go and do it, I hadn't put together a set. I just thought I'll swing it. I'll just go along and like just talk funnily for 5 minutes. And I got there and I looked at the venue and there was like a queue of boys all talking to each other like they knew what they were doing and they knew each other. And I just went, this is a horrible idea. And just got directly on the bus and went home. And then that made me go home and go, right, I've got to write 5 minutes so that I actually got something, rather than just getting up on stage and being like, blah, 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 I don't know. But yeah, so it did take a bit of like preparation and everything, but it's almost straight away, especially if you start in like open mic gigs where everybody's brand new, the quality is kind of really varied. So nobody judges anybody and you just go, and then I think once you've done one of them and it's gone okay, then you're like, oh, I'm not going to die, which I felt like I would the first time, but then as you get into it, it's just highly addictive and fun.
Thank you.
You're often the only woman on the bill. Do you find that weird? What's that like? Because I don't know. Obviously.
Well, I mean, I wonder, because whenever there's another woman on the bill or a few women on the bill, we're always like, yay, check this out. And so, but if you get, there've been like, it's only happened once or twice where you get on the bill with somebody who's got like similar jokes to you and you're like, oh no, we've both got jokes where we talk about being single or like, you know, something a bit similar.
Yeah. That's more of an issue.
But what I wonder is, what is it like if it's only boys? Like, does a woman in the green room make everybody behave themselves, or does it make everybody weird? Tell me what. I'd like to turn that question back to you, Joe Bor.
Oh God.
What's it like when there's no women in the green room?
Absolutely brilliant. No, I'm joking. No, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You want I think you want a varied bill. The most important thing is the audience. So you want to, have a diverse bill, whatever that is. So it is. I think it's good when you have, acts that are very different in different ways. So it's nice having different types of energy. I don't like it when we're all the same. So it is annoying when we're all similar and our material is similar. And you can tell, you can feel from an audience whether they're a bit bored by the same sort of shit. So it's nice. I just think it's nice to have a varied bill.
Yeah.
Did I get away with that?
Yeah, you evaded that really nicely. Yeah.
There was another question.
Jenny, when was your best moment, or when were you most surprised and you really liked it in your career?
I don't know. When was I most surprised?
Yeah, in a good way.
In a good way.
You've won competitions, haven't you? And that's quite a buzz.
Yeah.
Early on, isn't
but
it?
But in competitions, even if it's only afterwards that you find out. So the gig itself is so terrifying. So there's some scenarios where gigs, you can't really enjoy the gig itself because you're so wrapped up in like, it's a competition, or I've got a family or a friend in the audience so I think the most fun ones are where there's no pressure, there's no like nothing riding on it, and you're just having a gig and just enjoying the kind of interaction with the audience and the kind of the moment of it, that's really nice. When you're too in your head about a competition, that's a bit like you're just saying the words out through dead eyes. Whereas if you're just enjoying the gig because it's a gig and you're there all to have lols, that's my favourite. So yeah, just doing as many of them and getting to do it over and over and like, and should I tell you what is the greatest one? Is when you do a new material gig and it goes well. If you've been churning out the same stuff for ages, and then you're like, right, I really need to like start doing some new stuff, and then you go to a new material gig. That's the stuff that if you could bottle that feeling of coming out of a gig having just tried something new, it's a tonic.
Oh, when a new joke works, it's the best feeling, isn't
Nothing
it?
like it.
Also, and I've seen it with you, when you improvise a thing and it works in the room, and that will make you laugh, and you can tell, you know, that you can tell with comics.
You're like Jenny, and it makes you laugh, and no one else is laughing, but you're really, you can tell you're enjoying it.
Yeah, but that is something that is very enjoyable, isn't it?
Yeah.
When a funny thing happens in the room that wasn't planned.
Yeah. And what's really nice as well is if somebody in the audience is laughing to the point where they're crying, it's so infectious, and so then you've got like tears in your eyes while you're saying it. That's
magic.
That's a really magical thing. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, thank you. That was lovely. Give a round of applause for Jenny, please. That was so good. Thank you. Have a sit down.